yourself. So let's hit the record button and we'll get started. All right, good morning or afternoon, everybody, depending on what part of the world you are calling in from. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to share all of this content with you. We have 8 weeks of content and there's a lot of stuff to deliver, but at the same time, I'm trying not to overwhelm you. So because this process should be fun and it should feel light, and it's all about getting results. So we're going to take some little foundational steps today, and I think that's really going to help set everybody up for success over the next 8 weeks. So I put in the chat box the link to the assessment. Some people were having trouble downloading it earlier because I didn't make it private or public. So you should be able to access it now. If you had trouble before, you can try again. You can click on the link in the chat box and you should be able to get it. So if not, let me know and I can just email you a copy or something like that. So we'll just work through those little tech hiccups. So this course is all about you. I really want to see you guys be successful in your businesses. It's all about, being really clear on your messaging, because clear communication is so important. Because if the world doesn't know what you have to offer, then they can't do business with you. And in the work that I do, I see that a lot of the time. When we are super passionate about something and we're day in, day out, grinding with it, sometimes we're so close to it, it can be hard to communicate it to somebody else. But the good news is, with some practice and with some pro tips, you can get a lot better at getting clear on your message, connecting with your ideal audience, making that emotional connection so that people know exactly what you do and that they just are dying to work with you. So that's the goal of this program. That being said, it's also going to be interactive. So this first go around is a smaller group. So I was going to cap it at 15, and then I had a couple people at the last minute that were like, please, can I get in? So there's 17 people, but that's still a pretty small and intimate group. So I encourage you, speak up if you have questions. You can type them anytime in the chat box throughout this program. For people that are listening to the recorded session, you can email me, or even better yet, post it in our private Facebook group, because if you have a question, somebody else might have the same question. So really use me, use my brain, let me help you, because I really want to see you be successful. So I'm putting that out there. I am making myself available. Definitely take advantage of that. And then let's see. So little housekeeping thing. I asked everyone to introduce yourselves in the group. And I know I just sent that email out, I think Sunday night. So I know some of you haven't yet, but thank you to Marion and David who have done so far. And I encourage you, the rest of you, to do that, because for a couple of reasons. One, this is an amazing group of people, and you never know who you have an opportunity to network with or build a partnership with, maybe to work together with. So definitely put yourself out there, but it's also a good way to practice your messaging by telling people who you are, what you do, all that good stuff. And then I'm also going to give you some feedback if I see anywhere that you can improve on your message or things like that. So definitely get in the group and introduce yourself. I put a link. If you don't have it, you all should be in the group right now. I'm pretty sure everyone was added successfully on Facebook, but there's also a link in the PDF that went out, the one that says self-assessment and your messaging roadmap week 1. So definitely click on there sometime today and introduce yourself. So I do have just one ground rule for today, since we are focusing on a self-assessment. There's no judgment. So wherever you are is perfect. There's no right, there's no wrong. Whatever part of your path you're on right now is absolutely perfect, but we're going to help you get where you want to be. So it's just about, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and you see this checklist and I only checked off 3 things and I have all this work to do. It's not about that. It's just about getting clear on what you're really good at right now, and then where the areas are for improvement. And then you can take the little baby steps to get there. So just be where you are and don't feel overwhelmed. This is going to be fun. And there's something about having a plan and just knowing where you can improve and things like that. That knowledge to me is very peaceful and comforting. So try to take that approach to it and don't feel like, oh my God, I feel overwhelmed. So everybody with me so far? We good? Just put a yes in the chat if we're all good so far. Just setting up the foundation. Yay. Okay, good. Just waiting for a yes. I'm like, uh-oh. Is anybody there? Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Tammy. Great. Okay, cool. So this is not normal for me. Like I'm very much like focus on the positive, focus on what's working. But today I'm gonna variate from that script just a little bit, but there's a reason for it. So we're gonna talk about the biggest mistakes that I see when I work one-on-one with my clients. So most of you know me already. We know each other pretty well, but a lot of the work I do is helping people rewrite their websites, helping them rewrite their sales pages so they can get conversions, helping them write their signature stories. And time again, I see a lot of the same mistakes. And the reason I'm shining a light on these now for all of you is just so you can be aware of them, because we all do it. But there's something about that awareness piece. So if you know this is a common mistake and this is why you shouldn't do that, then you have, a way forward. Tammy says she's a pro at mistakes. Well, that's good because the mistakes help us learn. So you're going to be a pro at growing and learning as well. So the number one thing that I see is people go to your website and they have no idea what you do. So I have this conversation a lot with my clients, and it's like, okay, what do you do again? And the reason why, so there's could be a few reasons. Too jargony. So your industry. There's certain words that you're going to throw out that make 100,000% perfect sense to you, but your target audience might have no clue what you're talking about. For instance, I was working with a woman who does landing pages for people professionally. So a landing page is another word for a sales page. And to her, the word landing page is super common. She uses it every day. She knows exactly what it is. I know it is. And a lot of people who are advanced at marketing, they know exactly what that is. But her ideal target audience is a beginning entrepreneur, someone who's just starting their journey. And 9 times out of 10, they have no idea what that is. So that's like the first thing that's on her page is I can help you with your landing page. And, people don't get it. And usually if people don't get it, they're not going to stick around and ask you to explain it to them. They're just going to keep going. I mentioned this in the last training, for those of you who are on the storytelling training, is that we have a very short attention span. Like literally, we have like an 8-second attention span, which is less than a goldfish. So I'll use the word goldfish a lot, and that's what I'm referring to. So they're just going to swim on by. Like they're like, I don't know what that word means. I have no idea. So I'm just going to go. The other thing people do is they use way too many words to describe what they do. And again, it goes back to that whole goldfish thing. Sometimes people aren't going to sit and read, a novel. They want to know what you do in about 3 sentences, and then they can decide from there if they want to find out more. So that's a really big thing to keep in mind. If you can nail your 3-sentence, what I do, you're golden. People, even if you meet someone at a conference, and sometimes you ask someone what they do and they go in this 12-minute spiel and you're trying to stay up, but you're like, I'm not sure what you do. So if you can nail it in 3 really concise, clear sentences, that's pure gold. And just also the clarity piece, again, it makes perfect sense in your head because you live it every single day. This is the work you're doing, but you have to explain it so that someone else knows. So I always say, when you're explaining what you do, grab the nearest 10-year-old and tell them. Okay, they don't have to be super interested in it or care, but just ask them, do you get it? Do you understand what I do? And if they're saying, no, I have no idea, then there's probably an opportunity to be a little bit more clear and refined. So we're going to be getting into that over the course of these next 8 weeks. Then the second biggest mistake And this is especially true from people that are just starting out at their business, but I also see people who are more seasoned do it too. And there's a reason. So it's that you're talking to everybody. So you're super general and kind of generic. And the reason why is because you love people and you want to work with everybody. So if I can help you, I'm going to work with you. And especially when you're just starting out and you need to get revenue coming in, you're like, if you have a credit card, I will work with you. And I've been there in my businesses too, so I get it. But there's a marketing saying that I want you to really get this ingrained, because this piece is so important. When you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. So it's like if somebody says, oh, I'm a life coach. That's so generic. That's so general, because there's like, thousands and thousands of life coaches out there, but each coach probably has a specialization. So if that's you, you want to really hone in, okay, what do I help people with? Do I help them transition from corporate job to entrepreneurship? That's like a business coach. Or do you help people that are struggling with fatigue, and you're a health coach and you help them get their mindset right and get their diet right, and so you have to be super super specific. And yes, you're not going to be for everybody, but the people that you are for, they're going to feel so connected to you, like, oh my gosh, you're talking directly to me. Like, I am about to quit my corporate job and I want to start my own business and I need help. Then they're going to get you and they're going to be like, I want to work with you, versus just saying, oh, I'm a business coach. Well, that doesn't tell them enough. So be really specific, have a very specific type of client in mind. And then every time you're writing anything, from a blog post to website copy to an email, talk like you're talking directly to them. Like, think of them in your head, who that person is. And then they're going to get you. So they're not going to just be like reading your Facebook post or your email or your whatever and be like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then keep going. They're going to stop what they're doing. They're going to have this, oh my gosh, she's talking to me or he's talking to me moment, and they're going to want to work with you. So keep that in mind every time you write anything, is that one person, that ideal client. And if you have a specific person in your head, like a real actual person in real life, even better. The next thing is I see is that people don't get their ideal clients, like the pain that they're in, what keeps them up at night. You have to know like what they're struggling with, really be really clear on that so that you can help them overcome it. And this is something that you always want to have in your copywriting. So again, if it's going back to I don't know, somebody that is the sales, let's use the sales pages one as an example. She helps people write sales pages. So maybe her ideal client is up at night because they've got a sales page out there. They have this amazing product. They know they can like help the world, but nobody's buying their product. People are going to their website. They're not clicking buy. There's something missing. So what that tells me is you're not speaking clearly to their pain. So she would say, speak directly to that. Say, look, have you spent all this time getting ready to launch a new product. You put up this sales page, you hired a designer, you did all this work, but nobody's clicking buy. Like, that's super specific. You know what they're struggling with, what they're staying up at night. And getting in their head is so important, because that's how they're going to see what you can actually do for them. And sometimes people say, well, I don't know what that is. So ask. You'll find out the more like one-on-one work you do with clients, you'll start to see the same things coming up over and over. So that's a clue, but also just ask people. I mean, you can make it formal. You can send out a survey to your email list, or you can just even post on your personal Facebook. Hey guys, I'm doing some research for my business. I have a question. What's your number one struggle with your business right now? Or, this is specifically for health coaches. What is your struggle? Asking. So that data is so important for marketing reasons and for content reasons. So I'm going to pause for 1 second because I have a question from Robin. If you have different messages for different programs, oh yes, will you cover how to write a more general welcome message? Yes, we will cover that. That's a little tricky. It can be tricky. depending how many similarities there are between the different programs. If they're all sort of geared to the same client, like, I have 3 different programs for entrepreneurs or something like that, that's a little easier. Now, sometimes if the programs are like night and day different, I would almost recommend 2 different websites or 2 different, takes on it, but it depends. So yeah, we can take a look at that. And there are ways to do that too. So it's just about finding the similarities. And then the next thing is not clearly showing how your product or service alleviates the pain. So a lot of people tell instead of show, but showing is what you want to be. So paint the picture. So an example of telling is, I can work with you and together we will help you get more clients. So that's telling, and that's what you do, and that's the work you do. That's your end goal. But paint the picture. So a good way is telling a story. I worked with my client, Jessica, and she had launched this product, and she only, sold one person into her program after spending thousands of dollars on her launch. And we worked together on her sales page, and she relaunched and sold 50 people in the first week. That is a picture. Like, you clearly get it. You can see the results. You can see what the possibility is. So that's a lot of times called selling the dream or selling the vision of the future. And that's what people are buying into. So show them. And if you don't have client results yet, you can just paint the picture with another story of how that might look or feel. Or, you can say, imagine this. Imagine if, 6 months from now, you have so many clients that, your phone's ringing off the hook. You had to increase your prices. You hired a VA, like really specific details. So use a story or just at least some really specific so people can see that vision in their head. And that's just like a neurological thing. Like, we can see when there's like more details. That's what good storytelling is all about. So paint that. Be a little bit of an artist and paint that vision for your clients so they can see the possibilities of working with you. Let's see, not making an emotional connection. So again, I talk about storytelling all the time. That's kind of my thing. And there's a lot of reasons for it. And stories really connect with the heart. I talked about this a little bit in the training too, but we are quite literally wired for story. It just goes back to our basic survival instincts from back in the day when we were all living in caves together. If you were to survive, there was no internet, there was no newspaper, there was no telephone, there was nothing, no TV, no radio. So you depended on stories from your tribe mates in order to survive. So we're still wired. Our brains haven't changed, even though technology has evolved and so much of our lifestyle has evolved. Our basic instinct in our brain is the same. So we're literally wired for story. People connect with that. There's an emotional connection that happens. That's how we make our decisions. So definitely want to use storytelling to make that connection. And you can decide how vulnerable or not that you are. I sometimes share like some pretty vulnerable things about my journey. And that's just, for me, that's just who I am. And I feel totally comfortable with that. And I know some people are just like, I don't know about this. So you have to do what's comfortable for you. But there are other ways to tell a story and make an emotional connection too, if you're not super comfortable with that. So the next thing is no flavor or personality. So I will meet people all the time, and they're just, their energy, you can feel their energy. They're doing like amazing stuff in the world, and they're just awesome. And you can just feel like how passionate they are about the work they do. And then you go onto their website and you're like, is this even the same person? Because sometimes people are afraid to like show up as who they are, or there's this old like corporate mentality of, just give them the facts and kind of, you don't want to scare them off. You don't want to show them too much. But there's a disconnect when you do that. So like a good example, I'm going to use David. I don't know if you guys saw David's introduction into the group yet, but you can just tell, even if you don't know David, just by what he wrote, he's very funny and witty. Like he says, I'm the caffeinated entrepreneur. And I said, say something funny about your, or odd, or something about yourself. And he's like, well, funny, old, and odd, that's what I am, or something like that. And it's just, so that's his personality. So I haven't checked out a lot of David's copywriting yet, so I don't know if he gives that flavor to his website and everything, but I hope he does, and I'm going to suggest that he does, because people need to see that. People are going to connect to that. That's what makes him likable. So definitely, if you're funny, let your sense of humor come out. If you are crazy, let that come out. If you are very heartfelt, share your heart. Just be true to yourself and let that come out in the work that you do, the writing that you do, the speaking that you do, because people will connect with that. So don't just try to be like watered down, vanilla, make some waves, let people see you. Because that's the most successful people, really. That's why they're connected to their true self and they express it. And then other people will see their success and they'll try to copy it and they'll try to be their version of that person. But no, just be yourself. Trust me, people would rather be yourself or see you being yourself. Another big one is there's no call to action. So if you don't tell people, hey, this is how we can work together, then they're not going to know how to work together. So you don't want people to have to wonder, like, how do we work? Do you have programs? Like, you want to try to make that as clear as possible. Tell them, invite them. Say, I would like to invite you to join me in this program, or, if you want to talk more about this, let's set up a strategy call, or give them some guidance on what those next steps could look like, and paint that picture for them as well. Okay, a few more. So being consistent, that's the number one rule to marketing and branding, is you have to keep showing up. So if you do a newsletter or an email, I don't like the word newsletter, but if you do an email, which is actually the next bullet, like once every 6 months, people are going to forget about you. And then the next time you send them one, they're going to be like, oh, where have you been for the last 6 months? Like, people, if they really liked you and they felt like, oh, I want more of you, and then you just drop off the face of the earth, when you come back, they're not going to be as warm anymore. They're going to go back to cold, and you got to warm them up again. So just kind of stay in front of people. Everyone's schedule will look different. For some people, that means every single week you're writing a blog post. Every single week you're posting a video. Every single week you're sending out an email, which, by the way, can point to those blogs and videos. For other people, you might be like, oh my God, that's too much. I can't handle that right now in my workload. So maybe you're every 2 weeks. But just be consistent about it, whatever it is, and keep up with it. That's the most important thing. And same for social media. So maybe some people will go on their social media and they'll post every single day for a week, and then they'll leave for 2 months and come back, and it's like, well, where is everybody? So keep your people, stay in front of people. Consistency is the key. So then also newsletters are not, so when I say newsletter, imagine it's all about you and this is what's going on in my business, and this is where you can come see me. And so you don't want it to be all about you. And that's kind of also an older school way of marketing. So you want it to be more about them. So how you make it about them is set an intention, I'm going to educate you today. I'm going to teach you, my top 3 tips on whatever it is that you do. Or today I want you to feel inspired. So, I was sitting at a coffee shop and I had this thought and I just wanted to share it with you. Make it about them. Ask them questions. How can I help you? What do you need in your business? How can I serve you? So just making that little subtle shift, and you can still have your about me's in there. Oh, by the way, I would like to invite you to this program, but mix it up. So you should have they should feel like when they open your emails, there's going to be a nugget in there for them. It's worth opening. You're going to leave them with something they can use, and then maybe try to offer them something like a program or a one-on-one or something as well. You can do both, but definitely put the emphasis on them first, and then they're going to love you. So storytelling, we already talked about that. That's going to come up a lot. And then also no opt-in on your website. So email marketing is still the best way to market. You get the highest ROI. It's crazy. I think it's 2,300% or maybe even higher. It's insane how much you can make back on email marketing. So a lot of people say, oh, well, I get so much junk mail. I don't even read my emails. And I get it. I'm there too. I get it. I don't read every single email that comes to me either. But even though that is true, and we all can relate to that, still email marketing is the number one way to make money. So you have to have a list though to email to. So on your website, you need to have an opt-in, something of value that people can download in exchange for an email, and then do the consistency thing. If you don't have that, you're missing out on easy money, because it's, if you look at your ROI on rate of return on like a Facebook ad, for example, you're going to be spending way more money on that, and you're advertising to a lot of times people that don't know you. Your email list is somebody that wants to hear from you. So that's something you definitely want to focus on. If it's not there already, then you're going to want to focus on that. And then the last thing is automation. So don't feel overwhelmed. I just got this feeling like, someone's like, if you're not using it, no problem. But just putting it out there, because technology is our friend. And I know we all have the same problem. Entrepreneurs always have the same problem. Like, I just need more hours in the day, and then I can get stuff done. So this is one way to magically make more hours in the day. So automating everything from your email, not all of your emails, but when someone signs up on your website, you might have a series of automated emails that go out. So you don't have to even think about it. You could be asleep and they're getting the messages, they're getting the downloads. You can automate pieces of your social media. There's a lot of stuff you can do to just, make things a little bit easier for you, and buy back more time. So those are all the things that are like the most common barriers from people, really connecting with their audience, really reaching their business goals as far as from the content perspective. And really, I just want to iterate or reiterate how important content is. You've probably heard the saying that content is king, and that is like 1,000% true, especially if you're working online. And I think everyone in this group either has an online business, or at least some portion of what you do is online. Content is everything. So you want to be giving things to people. You want to be giving them a reason to click on your website, a reason to follow you on social media, a reason to engage with you. And you can do this. Content is like the easiest way. And it doesn't have to be anything even elaborate. It could be a short Facebook post, or it could be like a 500-word blog post, just something inspiring. And that's how people are going to start to know you. It could be a quick 5-minute Facebook Live video where you're sharing a message. This is like the easiest way to get in front of people, let people know you, and then they're going to start to want to work with you. So content is king, and that is why this entire course is about your content strategy, how to improve it, how to build it. I get that everyone in this group is at a different place. We have people that are in marketing, we have some people that are writers, and then we have people that are brand new in business, and this is all kind of new to them, or they've tried some things out and maybe some things work, some things didn't. So everyone's in a different place. But this, for everyone though, we can all improve. I can improve. There's places on the self-assessment where I need to improve. And that's okay. So just wherever you are is perfect. And we're going to look at growing from there all together. So, and then I just also have a few other little bullets about the groundwork for all of your messaging. And some of this we already touched on, but the most important thing before you write a single word, going forward, make sure you look at these 8 steps. So before you write a blog post, before you do a Facebook Live video, before you send out an email, just quickly go through this list. So 1, are you clear-minded? That's the biggest thing as a writer or messenger or communicator, is you got to clear out your mind. If you got the monkey brain going on and you've got a million thoughts a minute, it's going to be hard to communicate, right? Because you're in your head, there's too much chatter. So get clear, whatever that means to you. I've recommended it in the past, journaling, meditation. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And then connect with what is your stand. So for those of you who are my Red Elephant people, we talked a lot about stands in Orlando at the event last week, or I think it was 2 weeks ago. So in other words, your why, like what what drives you. You know, being an entrepreneur is not an easy thing. You guys were all a little bit crazy, in case you didn't already know that. Because, right, it's a little bit crazy to make that leap. You don't have the safety net of somebody, you know, depositing a paycheck into your account every 2 weeks. You've got to be a little bit crazy to take that step off over the ledge and just, you know, keeping the faith and that the net is going to appear. But there's a reason behind that craziness. There's something driving that, and it's your stand, your passion, your why. It's why you do what you do. So keep that in mind anytime you start to doubt yourself, anytime you get in your head and you're not clear or you get a little scared. Connect with that, and also connect with that before you write any messaging, because it's going to come across. People are going to feel it. You know, if you're scared, they're going to feel that. If you're doubting yourself, they're going to feel that. But if you're connected to why you're so freaking passionate and why you quit your corporate job to go be a crazy entrepreneur, they're going to feel that. So always, always, always do that before you write anything, hit record on a video, etc. And then we talked about this earlier, so I won't go too much into this again, but just who's your ideal client? Be super specific and talk directly to them. What keeps them up at night? Talk specifically about that pain, and then paint the picture of how you're going to help them alleviate that pain and how you can help make their life better through your signature processes and through the work that you offer, the service you offer. And then, so we don't start with us, like we're way down on the list. This is number 6, like why you. So people want to know about them first. They want to know how you can help them, and then they want to know who you are. So some people get that backwards. They start with, this is me, these are my credentials, and this is how I can help you. But people, our brains don't work like that. We want to know first how you can help me, and then tell me about you. And then so you would talk about your credentials and show it. And again, show, don't tell. If you can like tell a story instead of just saying, you know, I have a degree in blah, 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 and I've coached for this, you know, show them with your words. Tell a little story why you're the one person that can really help them, you know, reach their goals. And then also be intentional with it. So anytime you start writing, hit record, get ready to send that email, what's your intention? You know, is your goal to educate them, make them laugh, make them cry, make them think, maybe a combination of those things? But have that in your mind. So your intention is very important. Otherwise, you know, it's like just writing randomly. This is the strategy part. So intention is part of strategy. And then the last thing is the calls to action. And we talked about that earlier. So if you don't give someone a next step, if you don't give them a how to work together, then, you know, they're probably not going to ask. You know, you have to make that clear for them. So just make it really easy for them. You know, I'd like to work with you. I'd like to set up a strategy call with you. Click here to set that up. And then boom, it's done, right? Otherwise, sometimes people will seek you out and say, hey, I was wondering how we can work together, but make it as easy for them as possible. So this, I know that was a lot, but it's just, I wanted to just get the most important things out there, the biggest mistakes people are making so that you don't make them. Have them in mind so you know about them, once you're aware of them. And then also just this like 8 things, you know, before you hit record, before you blog, before you do anything, just check in with those 8 things. And if you follow this format, you're going to see like a big difference. If you haven't been doing this in the past, if you've just been kind of like randomly sharing, get this little bit of structure. And let me say, I am not a structure person. I am a creative person. Like structure and spreadsheets and that's not like my go-to way of thinking, but what I do like are results, and what I do like is helping people and serving people. So because of that, I can be a structure person because I know that the structure works and that it helps. So is everybody on board? Any questions or anything before we move on? Just say a yes in the chat or a, hey, can you talk more about this? And for those who are listening into the recording, of course, you can share your questions inside of the Facebook group. All right, so I wanted just to go over, you're going to be able to do this self-assessment. Good, I'm seeing goods in there. So again, if you had trouble, good, David's clear, awesome. If you had trouble downloading this earlier, I did put a link to it again in the chat box. So you should have access to it. It's on Google Drives. It's called the Story, Strategy, and Soul Content Strategy self-assessment. If you do not have access, let me know. I can try to email it to you, or but I think everyone is good now. So everyone earlier said they were good. So I'm just going to go over this with you. You can spend some time later doing this, or maybe you can do it while I'm talking. But and again, I want to I want to emphasize no judgment here. If you're not doing a lot of the stuff, it's all good. It's just something to think about. Some stuff you might want to incorporate. Don't feel overwhelmed. Like, you might not want to do all this stuff or need to do all this stuff in your business, so don't stress about it. But it's just to give you kind of where you're at, and so you can see on a spreadsheet what you're really doing well right now, where you're killing it, and then also maybe where there's opportunities to improve. So no rules, no judgment. Don't feel overwhelmed. It's just data. It's just data. It's just information. So the first thing on this is where it says signature story. So yes or no, do you have one? And do you know what a signature story is? What that is, it's something you can share about yourself that is branded to you. It connects with why you're doing what you do. It connects with your ideal client. And it's just a way of, instead of just saying, I'm a life coach and I help people get their shit together or whatever, it's a something much deeper, and it gets, that's a strategic way to share why you do, and a little bit about your story and what brought you to this point in your journey. So everyone's signature story looks different. I can share in the group if you want some other signature stories that I've helped clients with, if you want to see what some other people's look like, if you're not sure. If you were on the Power of Storytelling webinar a few weeks ago, then we went into this on how to do it. So if you haven't checked that out, we're going to do more of like a whole week is going to be devoted to this. But do you have one right now at all? Yes or no? If you do, is it written with your ideal client in mind? Is it written on brand? And when I say on brand, your brand is really, it's who you are. It's what you stand for. It's the results you want for your clients. It's how you want to make them feel. It's the difference you make. This is all the stuff that your brand is. So your story, your signature story, should be branded like that too. And do you have a call to action? Even your signature story can have a call to action. So we'll talk more about that, but is this something you are clear on, that you've nailed, or is there room for improvement? So you can grade yourself as A, like I nailed it, I'm a pro at this. There's no Fs, so B, C, or D, if you need to improve on any of those. So in your signature story, it could be different lengths. It depends what you're using it for. Maybe it's going to be your about page on your website. Maybe it's going to be a biography on LinkedIn or some other social media. Maybe it's going to be used in a keynote that you're going to deliver on a stage. So you might have several versions of your signature story depending on the audience, depending on the deliverable. And then your next is your website. So I go into a lot more detail. There's another one of your downloads this week was called the Website Word Wizardry Audit. and it's kind of long, so I'm not going to have time to get into it all today, but it goes through each section of your website, and it tells you some things you can be doing to improve, some things to look at. It gives you like a little pro tip. So it talks about pictures. Pictures says 1,000 words. That's a thing for a reason. So you're even telling a story already just with the photograph that you use. It gets into sound bites and headlines. We talked about that earlier, and that's the whole using 3 sentences to describe what you do. Who are you? Being consistent. So you can go through this on your own, but I just wanted to point it out because it is on the a self-assessment about your website. So you can go into there for some little pointers, and we'll get into some more of this content later. So David, you need a link in the chat box except for which one? For the self-assessment, or are you talking about the audit? This one? Whoops, that's not working. Here it is. La la la. So yes, it's up. If you scroll up, the website one. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if anyone else needs this one, let me see, because it's not working. It's in the email. Does anybody have the link handy for the website one and put it in the chat box? Let me go look real quick and see. It's in the email I sent out. So here it is. Here it is. All right. So I'm putting that in the chat box. There you go. So back to the assessment, just some things to think about. First of all, does your website have all of these elements? A home page, an about page, some type of either sales or work with me or service page so people know how to continue the relationship, a blog or videos if that's your thing, and then a freebie, which is the opt-in, how you build your email list. So yes or no, do you have these things? And if you do, how well are you writing to your ideal client? How well are you showing how you can help alleviate their pain in all of these sections? How well are you on brands? Do you have call to actions? Oh, Marty says I suck. No, Marty, you don't suck. But if we all have room to improve. Which, hi, by the way, I just saw that you were on here. All of us have room to improve. So that's all this is just shining light on where you can improve, because the more you know, we can only get better at it, right? And we all sucked at everything at one point in our lives. We can't be amazing at everything. But just the awareness piece is like, okay, where can I improve? Now, conversion rates, this is a little bit more of an advanced skill for some people. I just recently started tracking my conversion rates. But if you're really serious about your marketing and really serious about making money, this is important. And again, I'm not a structure person. I'm not a numbers person, but it's important to know. So if you do have a sales page, how many people visited your page, and then how many of those people actually said, yes, sign me up. That's your conversion rate, because that data is going to tell you something. It's going to tell you, yes, if you have a high conversion rate, if you're doing 50, 60, 70%, then you're nailing it. But if it's like 2 or 3 or 5%, then it's like, okay, I need to improve on something. Something's not connecting. So if you don't know, that's okay. It's just something else you could to think about, or how you can start tracking that. And there's different softwares for that. And I know David maybe could speak to that with his marketing company, or other people in the group might be able to speak to that as well. So just something to be aware of, not to stress out about. And then, of course, social media. Social media is like, there's this love-hate thing going on. It's like a blessing and a curse, because it's a blessing because you can reach literally people from all over the world, all different countries, different continents, all times of the day. You can reach like millions of people. There's no limit. But at the same time, it's like so vast that you can like really like get sucked in and spin your wheels. And, so you want to find that balance. So there's several different things I put on here. Do you have a Facebook personal page? Now, Facebook frowns upon you advertising too much of your business on your personal page. And I think it's in their terms of agreements, but everyone does it anyway. And my thing on that, as long as if you have a lot of personal stuff too, your business is part of your life. So I don't see anything wrong with sharing about your business as well. And I do it. And I recommend that if you have a large following on your personal page, because you're going to get more engagement, more people are going to see it, versus a business page where nowadays the only engagement you're going to get really is if you pay to play is like the business page model. So I have both. I use my personal page, I put about my personal life, but I do put business related stuff on there too. Just be mindful that, if you do it too much, Facebook might, put you in the corner or something like that, but you can have that balance. The business page is good too. People sometimes look for your business page. It's good if you want to spend money on ads. You can do that effectively and get new customers. But a Facebook group is actually a really good way. It's kind of like a mix of both worlds. People actually see your posts and they engage with it, but it's still, we never know when Facebook is going to change it. But as of right now, you don't have to pay for that. So if you don't have a group, you might think about doing that. And really thinking about how to engage your people, how to deliver them content that they're going to find informative, useful. LinkedIn, I don't do a ton there. I do share some. I do connect with. I do actually make connections there. partnerships have come out of that. I don't get as much engagement there, so that may be something I'm doing wrong. So that would be something I would not give myself an A in, but I could talk to someone that's an expert in LinkedIn and how can I improve that? So you may be there too, or maybe you're killing it in LinkedIn and you can give me some pointers, but just some things to look at. And then Instagram, I love Instagram. You get a lot of engagement there if you do it right. It's all about photography and telling your story through pictures. Twitter, Pinterest. So, there's just all these different sites. And by the way, you don't have to be on all of these. I would definitely recommend you have a social media presence. You don't necessarily have to do them all. Figure out what's right for you. Figure out where your target audience is. Figure out what you're good at. And then again, there's companies that can help you with this. There's automation, there's software. You could do one post and put it on multiple platforms so you're reaching different people. So there's different ways of leveraging these things, but it's just, something to look at. But most of all, are you consistent? How many posts are you doing a week? Is your audience engaged? If you're just posting and you're not, and it's crickets, it could be the platform. Like if that's a business page on Facebook, that's just the platform unless you pay for it. That does happen there. But if it's on other, if it's everywhere, then you have to look at your content. Why aren't they engaged? What can I change to make it more interesting for them? Your engagement. So if people are messaging you, if they're commenting on your posts, you want to engage with them. You want to keep the conversation going. You don't want to ignore them. It would be like someone coming over to your house and, they're talking to you and you just turn around and don't even acknowledge them. That being said, sometimes it can be overwhelming to engage with everybody, especially as you grow your following. So you have to find the balance with that. And then are you getting clients from social media? That's something you should start tracking. Every new client you get, try to figure out where did they come from. After I started tracking this, I realized I was getting new clients off of Twitter, which was really surprising to me because I don't spend a lot of time on there. But for some reason, people were picking up what I was saying on there. And so now I am spending more time and I am being more strategic about it. I don't use Pinterest at all. That's just not for me. Maybe I was doing it wrong, but so everyone's going to look different. So again, no judgment. Are your posts on brands? What we talked about. Are you talking to your ideal client? Just some stuff you can think about. Are you using stories? Do you have a call to action? So every single post is not going to have a call to action because you don't want to be that person either. That's all business, all sales, all the time. But you do need to have that strategy in there at some point. So maybe somebody has a formula. I don't know. I think they said 25% or 30% or something. Maybe somebody knows and can tell me the answer of how much you want to be selling. And then the rest of the time you're providing, content, you're educating, you're inspiring, you're engaging, having conversations, asking them questions, that kind of thing. So, and then I didn't mention this earlier, but if you scroll way over to the right, there's a little place you could put notes. Okay, Marty says it's 20. Yeah, 80-20. Okay, good. Thank you, David and Marty. So yeah, 20 selling, 80 not. So that makes sense. So you don't always want to have a call to action. Click here to buy, click here to work with me, click, but if you have a 0, then you're going to get 0 results. So 80-20 is a good rule of thumb. And then at the end, it's just things I'm doing right and areas for improvement. So definitely take some time to applaud yourself for the things that you are doing right. I think that's important. As entrepreneurs, we're all driven people and we all want to succeed and we all have this mission in our heart. So sometimes we forget to celebrate the wins along the way. We are looking at the finish line and how much further we have to go and how much bigger it can be. But don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself some props for what you are doing right. Okay. So make sure you fill that in. Things I'm doing right, celebrate those. And then of course, where can you improve? And again, don't get overwhelmed. You're not going to be on everyone. You're not going to be great at all of this stuff. I'm not, and you don't have to be. Your business can do very well if you just master a few of these things, especially if you're early starting or if this is new to you. Just pick 1 or 2, social media sites to really focus on. And then do you have a blog? Like some people say, well, blogging is dead, but it's not dead. Some people, everyone always has an opinion. It's not what it used to be. I would say that because now everyone and their mother has a blog, but if you do it right, it can really be beneficial to you and your business. So there's multiple ways. You could have it on your own personal website, if you have a WordPress site, or use some other medium to share your messages. You should definitely at least have that as a bare minimum, or posting on another site like a medium.com. If you guys are not familiar, medium.com is just a site that anybody can register and start blogging. You have to drive your own traffic. They're not going to drive traffic for you, but you can actually get people to start following you, and you can start building a little audience there, and it could take off. Like some people's have huge Medium followings now. So that's a place for you. If you don't have a website yet, you don't have, it's medium.com. Marty's asking what's the site. So I'm going to put it in the chat, medium.com. So yeah, and it's nice. I mean, they have a nice format and it looks good and all that good stuff. And then the where you really want to be, the big game changer, is getting on high authority sites. And if you're new to blogging, it might not happen overnight, but you don't have to be a professional writer. You just have to have a message, and you can get published on Huffington Post. Some places are easier to get in than others. There's, Inc.com, entrepreneur.com, wherever your ideal client is going to be hanging out, that's where you want to get published. And we have a whole section that's going to go over that. And I'm looking at the time, and we're going to go a few minutes over, so I hope that's okay, guys, but it'll be recorded if anyone has to jump, because we did start a few minutes late. But I want to just at least finish this rest of this worksheet. But, high authority sites has been a game changer for me. I'm on Huffington Post, and I still get people contacting me from blogs I've done years ago. I've gotten clients directly from sharing blogs that never met me before, and they read it, and then they got in touch with me and said, hey, can I hire you? I mean, that's like the dream come true, right? If you can do that. I'm speaking at an event in San Antonio in, I think, 2 weeks, or something like that. It's this month. It's in April. And they found me through a post I wrote for Tiny Buddha like 6 years ago. And they found it, and they said, hey, this is like the subject. We want you to come, we need a speaker on this. Can you come to our event? And they're paying me and paying for my way. And it's this huge event and a really great opportunity. And that was from something I wrote so many years ago, and they still find you. So that's like where you want to be. So we'll talk about that. And like I said, you don't have to be like a Pulitzer Prize winning writer. You just have to have a heartfelt message that you're willing to share. And we can talk about how to get you on those sites. So again, just some things to look at: your frequency. Is your audience engaged? Are they responding? Are they like, heck yeah? Or is it crickets? When someone does give you a compliment, or when somebody shares your post, are you thanking them? That's how you would rate yourself on your engagement. Are you getting clients from your blogging efforts? If not, let's figure out how to make that happen. Are they on brand? Again, are you talking to that ideal client? All these things that keep coming up. Use of story. Do you have a call to action? And then just a little place to the types of posts you do. So again, what are some things you're doing good here? If you don't have a blog, that's fine. Meet yourself where you are. Maybe you'll go and you'll commit to, hey, I'm going to go check out medium.com and I'm going to write my first post. It's never too late, and we all started somewhere. So, trust me, I started somewhere too. The first time I sent a submission to Huffington Post, I didn't get anybody to even answer me. And so then it's a funny story. I ended up stalking the editor for the section I wanted to be on. I found like her personal Twitter and her email, and I wrote her a funny note that was like, hey, I'm stalking you. And I was just like, I sent this article in and no one ever responded. And she was like, oh, well, I never got it. Can you resend it? And I did. And she thought it was funny, like that I was stalking her, that I called it that. She was like, that's so funny. And then she posted, she published it. And then I've had a writer's account there ever since. So, don't get discouraged. We all have to start somewhere. And it may take, stalking an editor or there's other ways to stand out, but we'll talk about that in a couple. I forget which week that is, but it's on the itinerary. We'll get more into that. So start where you are. We all started somewhere. And then the email marketing, we talked about that. a bit more, but just some things to look at. It's the same things. How frequently are you getting clients from your emails? Are you on brand? Are you talking directly to your ideal client? The same thing. So just again, overall grade, things you're doing right. Don't skip that part. Because I'm sure there's something, if you have an email list, then you're already doing one thing right. Okay. And if you don't have one, you can go start one. There's free places you could go and just start it. Just start somewhere. MailChimp is a good one that's free up until you get to, I forget how many subscribers. But even if you're committed to it. Thanks, David. I'll talk to you a little later. Okay, so, and then the very last part, so if you are interested in speaking, which I recommend, even if you're not super comfortable with it, I was not always super comfortable with speaking, but I've been through training and now I see like so much value in it. It's like insane how valuable speaking is. And I love writing, and writing is valuable too, but if you can combine the two, because both of them are messaging. One, you're just typing or writing, and the other one is coming straight out of your mouth to people's ears. So, but either way, you're communicating. So, whether it's a YouTube channel, getting out on Facebook Live, speaking online, like a webinar or training like this, or speaking offline, going on a stage and getting in front of a room full of people to tell them how you can help them. But the same things apply. You still want to use the same principles. Are you talking to the right person? What's your intention? Do you have a call to action? Are you using stories? So again, this spreadsheet, if you're like me and you're not a spreadsheet person, don't feel overwhelmed. It's just information, just giving you a picture, just some stuff to think about. Just take a chance to celebrate what you're doing really well right now, and where you are doing great. And then also look at the opportunity to improve, and know that over these next 7 more weeks, we're going to be looking at how to improve all these areas. So like I said at the beginning of the call, it is a smaller group. There's 17 of us, so it's still intimate enough where you guys can tell me what you need. So, if there was something that came to light as part of this exercise, like, oh my gosh, I need so much help with blah, 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 then maybe I can spend a little bit more time on that, if, especially if multiple people are saying that. But communicate with me. Let me know what you need. Let me know what's coming up. If you feel stressed or overwhelmed by this, I can walk you through that, because it's just data, and it's actually a good thing if you feel stressed, because that just shows you where you can improve. And that's how we get better, okay? We all start somewhere and we can only go up from here. So I'm going to open it up. I know we went a few minutes over. If anybody has any questions, you can type them into the chat box, or just say that you want to talk and I will unmute you. For everybody that's listening into the recording, again, go to the Facebook group and post any questions that you have there. If you have it, somebody else might have it as well. Definitely go check out the website audit, which we didn't really get to cover here. It's probably about a 10-minute read. It's got a lot of information, but it'll help you think through your website. And then you guys know how to reach me. So if you haven't done it yet, introduce yourself in the group. Let me know what you're getting from today, where you might want to focus your energy on. That's another thing too. There's this whole accountability factor to being inside of a group like this. If you raise your hand and say, you know what, this exercise made me realize that I'm really inconsistent with my email marketing, but I'm committed for the next 8 weeks. I'm going to do an email once per week, and every email is going to have a story, and it's going to be talking to, whatever it is, like whatever came up for you, post it in the group, because there's something magical about saying something out loud. If you get it out of your head, if you type it, and then there's the accountability. So this is going to help you manifest that. So go share. I don't see any questions popping up, so we're going to go ahead and call it a day. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. I'm glad that you're here on this journey, and I really, really, really want to help you become amazing messengers and storytellers and getting your word out, because you're all awesome and the world needs you. So let's do this. Anything I can help you with, let me know. Okay, guys? Love you. Bye. Thank you.